Okay, this is AGNR 131, Soil Science. This is the Lab Exercise 1 video. And you can see here, if you look at this paper I've got in front of me, it's called Taking a Closer Look at Rocks and Preparing Soil Samples for Analysis. This part of the video is going to be focused on just taking a closer look at rocks. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to 3 different kinds of rocks here. And the whole point of this exercise is to understand that rocks eventually break down into soils. And we want to understand, we've already talked in class a little bit about how rocks weather. And we've talked about the influences of climate and also the influences of different types of rocks, the properties of different types of rocks, and how climate might act on those different types of rocks in a different manner. So we mentioned some of this stuff in class, and what we're going to try to do is sort of simulate some weathering processes, some physical weathering processes and some chemical weathering processes with some rock samples. So here we are in the Mojave Desert, and what I've done is I've found 3 different kinds of rocks. Now I'm not going to tell you what kinds of rocks they are, because if my video is good enough, I'm going to focus in on those rocks, and you're going to be able to I can kind of pan out here. You're going to hopefully be able to determine which of the rock types they fit into. That would be like igneous or sedimentary or metamorphic. So that's that. I'll give you a closer look up of those in just a second. So we're going to actually treat each one of these rocks each of these 3 different types of rocks to 3 different treatments. In one part, we're going to determine which rock is the most porous. So we know that if a rock can actually take water into itself, if it's got cracks or pores or something like that, and actually water can go into the rock, then if climate begins to act on that rock, like say if the temperature drops and the rock is wet inside and the water inside freezes, that actually will put a force on that rock that'll help to sort of split it apart and break it down, which is kind of what we really want to happen if we're trying to make soil out of these rocks. So we're going to be able to do that by weighing our rocks before and then soaking them in water for an extended period of time, and then weighing them again after shaking all the water up and see if they've actually been able to take in any water. And if they have, then we're going to say, okay, well, this is a good candidate perhaps for some weathering to occur on that one. The next part of this experiment here is going to be, how does acid rain affect rocks, or how does a weak acid, if your soils are slightly acid, or you're under maybe even a forest soils or whatnot, you might have a weak acid formed in your as a result of the coniferous forest, or if you're in an industrial area, perhaps sometimes we do get a little bit of acidic rain coming down. And so what happens when you have a slightly acidic solution hitting the rock and contacting the rock, will it help break it down? We're going to simulate that by using some club soda here. You can see our simple club soda, and that's going to act as a weak acid. It's going to be our acid rain, and we'll soak our 3 different types of rocks in that acid rain, and see what happens with that, or if there is anything happening, or see how these different types of rocks actually behave. And as the third thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at what happens when rocks freeze and thaw. So again, 3 different types of rocks. Let's subject them to freezing and thawing. I'll just put them in the refrigerator, let them completely thaw out after they're frozen, and put them in for about 5 cycles of freeze thaw. And we'll see if there's any visual change on the rock. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me introduce you first to rock type A here, and I'll see if I can move my camera in and move my light over so that you guys get a good look at that. Let's see how we can do here. Let's see. There's a pretty good example of that there. Here's my 3 different types. And there they are. So pan back the other direction, get a good look at them. What kind of rocks do you think those are? They're all the same. Look a little bit different, but they're all the same. They might even come off the same rock originally. Okay, that's rock type A there. Now let's move over here to rock type B. So this one here, if you can see it well enough, it's looks a little different. It's got some shiny stuff in it. See that shiny stuff in there? I'll tilt to the edge on this one. Almost looks like it might even have some layers in it. And they kind of look like some little platey layers. And the same with this one. If I tilted it, you might see that. So there, that's a little bit better there. Here's rock type B. I'll zoom back just a little bit on that. Rock type B, and then we're going to come over here to rock type C. So first give you a little overview there, and then I'll try to zoom in on these rocks. They look a little different, don't they? Definitely a little bit different, these kind of rocks. So there you go. There's rock type C. Hopefully you're satisfied that they're all definitely not the same kind of rock. And so I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how they behave. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and then I'm going to go ahead and put these rocks, one sample of each, into just regular water. I've got my just regular tap water there, nothing special. And then there's my club soda. So I'll go ahead and set those things up. And actually what I'll do first is I'll show you, I need to weigh the rocks. So let's go ahead and do that. I can do that. And while I'm on camera, I'm going to take a beaker over here, and I can just put each one of the rocks in, right? So I'll just choose a random one. Let's just see. I'll take this one here. I'm going to weigh it. So here's my balance. The first thing I want to do, it's really not going to be a big deal, but I'm going to tare it. I'm just going to go ahead and place my rock right on that. Okay. 51.56. I'll go ahead and write that down here so I remember it. 51.56 grams. Okay. So that's the weight now. You can see what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to go ahead and carefully put this inside that beaker. Move over here to rock type B. I think I'll just choose this one. Come back to my balance. I'll go ahead and tare it again. Oops, out of tare settings. It says 0 the balance. Oh well, it looks good to me. Put that on there. This one says 87. Oh. Why is it doing that, huh? Well, that's interesting, isn't it? 87.48. That looks like it wants to stop there. So 87.48 for the second one. Write that down. 87.48 grams. And then we'll go ahead and put that one in with its other one here. And then finally I'll just take, let me see, I'll go ahead and take this one right here. Alright, so it's zeroed. Stick it on there. $63.92. So go ahead and put that one in carefully. And then I'll write $63.92 over here. 63.92 grams. All right. Well, since I'm doing this, I'm having so much fun. Let's just go ahead and we'll just fill this one up. So I'm just going to carefully put the water in this, just so they're all covered. It doesn't really matter how much I put in there. Just going to fill them up, and I'll fill it up just to account for any evaporation. And you can kind of see what looks like something interesting is going on already, right? Got all this bubbling. What does that mean, do you think? It's just water. Well, that to me indicates that perhaps we've got some porous rocks. Doesn't show as well as I'd like it, of course, but definitely you can see the bubbling in it. That's a good sign. You see it maybe a little bit better there. That's a pretty good indication that actually there's air inside those rocks someplace, and those bubbles are that air being displaced by water. All right. So now, the next one's going to be more of a visual. I'm going to take a, I guess I didn't really need all those. I think for this one here, what I'll do is I'll put them in individual ones. So I'll just take rock type A again, and then rock type B. I'll stick it in through there, and then rock type C. I'll stick it in right through there. So now this one here, as you can see, this one here, we're going to go ahead and I think you need two hands to open this up. I'm going to fill this up with the club soda. And so I know which rock is which, and that's always going to be important if you do this. But let me go ahead and fill this up with club soda, and then we'll have a look at what's next. Okay, I've got my club soda open, so I'm just going to go ahead and pour some in there. You see this is powerful stuff. It's fresh and bubbly. Doing its thing. Pour it into the next one. Okay, and into the last one as well. All right, so here we go. There's rock A, still kind of bubbly. And then there's rock type B. Turn this around a little bit and get a little bit better view of it. So back to rock type A and rock type B. Now I don't expect necessarily something to happen immediately, but there's rock type C. Again, maybe, yeah, interesting. So right now it's, if you look inside, there's C. See, it's bubbling pretty good. Still a lot of bubbling going on through there. And then maybe still a little bit on this one, right? So there's our acid rain simulation working on this stuff. So we're just going to leave it go. Even when the carbonation finishes, we might still get some action out of it. I'm not expecting it to be immediately, because this, again, it's not just an instantaneous process. All right, so then on the last one, I think again I'm just going to go ahead and use 3 different ones, 3 different beakers. I have a couple extras here, and I'll just go ahead and rock type C in there. I'll put that one in through there, and rock type B in through there, and then finally my rock type A through there. So it's all pretty easy to tell which one's which. If it focuses, it is. There's rock type B, and then there's rock type C in there. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill these with water. I think I need to get some more tap water, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put them in the freezer, and then we'll come back and see if anything's changed. All right, we'll see when we get all these things frozen and unfrozen 5 times. Okay, here I go. I've got all filled up with water, the samples that are going to go into the freeze thaw. There's sample A in the freezer. There's sample B. And there is sample C. It looks like 2 of them, but it's not. That looks a little bit better. Do that like that as well. Everybody can kind of see it. And there we go.